The movie begins on a stormy night where we see a creepy mansion in the middle of nowhere. A man walks through the dark hallway and unlocks a room at the end of it. It looks like the room is often locked to keep a woman from escaping. The man then insists her to eat something as she looks terribly weak and tired. However, the woman refuses to eat and notices a chance to escape. She knocks him out. Then, with unusual strength, she starts running toward the hall where she finds a string of a grand piano and suddenly decides to hang herself with it. And just as she's about to end herself, the bell in the mansion goes off. But before anyone can help her, the woman hangs herself with the string and decapitates her head in the process. In the next scene, a young woman named Evie is seen working as a waitress in New York City. Being an orphan, she lives with her friend Grace, who is also in the same line of work. One day after they finish serving food at a conference, Evie and Grace make fun of their boss and start laughing in the kitchen. Seeing this, the boss gets offended and threatens to fire them from the job. Moments later, Grace gives Evie a swab bag with her favorite wine and a DNA test in it. And when Evie goes home, she does some pottery, revealing that she's also an artist. Later, she opens her laptop and stumbles upon an advertisement about a DNA match finder online. She then opens the box that Grace gave her and takes the DNA test, and when the result is out, it is revealed that Evie has a distant cousin named Oliver from England who somehow contacts Evie and invites her for a cup of coffee. While Grace is skeptical about the result and disapproves of it, Evie meets Oliver anyway. They get to know each other and Evie enjoys her cousin's company. Using this opportunity, Oliver invites her to the wedding party of their closely related cousin. However, Evie informs him that she can't attend the party due to her financial condition and is in no position to travel. Hearing this, Oliver offers to pay for her travel expenses and requests that she come up to the event at all costs. And after some hesitation, Evie finally agrees to make the trip. In the next scene, Oliver picks Evie up from the airport and takes her to the wedding venue. She's then taken to the mansion and is mesmerized by its beauty. While admiring the venue, Evie accidentally runs into one of the housemaids, resulting in some broken glass. Immediately, a butler reaches the scene and starts lecturing the housemaid about her responsibilities, but Evie takes charge of the situation and defends the housemaid. A few moments later, Evie meets a man named Walter who welcomes her into the mansion. Interestingly, Walter is the lord of the manor and owns the place. He then finds out about the incident and immediately apologizes for the butler's behavior. Next, the same butler from earlier guides Evie into her room and also introduces her to another maid, Mrs. Swift. Then a new maid shows Evie how to use the service bell to call her into the room, and while Evie checks the room, she notices a picture of a woman. Upon inquiring who she is, Mrs. Swift tells her that the woman was the former lady of the mansion who passed away years ago. Sometime later, Walter knocks on Evie's room out of nowhere and apologizes for what happened earlier with the butler. Evie admires Walter's humility and accepts his apology. Later that night, Evie has a nightmare in which she goes for a run and notices a strange woman looking at her from the mansion's window. The woman seems to be the same person shown at the beginning of this story. Evie then starts hearing the woman's voice and suddenly sees her decapitated head lying on the floor. Immediately, Evie wakes up at this sight, and to collect herself, she goes out of her room to grab a glass of water. Surprisingly, she sees the butler standing in the hallway and talking to the housemaids in the middle of the night. Evie finds it strange and starts eavesdropping on their conversation. Right then, Mrs. Swift appears out of nowhere and insists that she get back to her room. Then as Evie goes inside, the butler is seen assigning a maid to clean the library and recites a strange prayer before leaving. However, a few minutes later, we see the maid assigned to clean the library gets attacked by a mysterious creature. The next morning, Evie wakes up late and starts getting ready frantically while her new family's waiting downstairs to reunite with her. Soon, Evie goes downstairs and meets the rest of her family for the first time. She's overjoyed by the reunion as the family welcomed her with open arms. And after the get-together, the butler once again makes his own way to the kitchen and asks two of the maids to join him. He takes them to a liquor room in the basement and asks them to fetch a bottle of wine. And while the unsuspecting maids go inside the room to fetch the bottles, they are also attacked by the same strange creature. In the next scene, Evie goes back to her room to see a beautiful yellow dress along with a note from Walter. Seeing the beautiful gesture, Evie gets on a call with Grace and starts talking about how awesome this place is. Later that evening, Evie wears the same dress as the party, while catching the attention of everyone present at the event. After that, she meets Victoria and Lucy as the bridesmaid and starts chatting with them. But shortly after that, Walter makes his appearance at the party, with his arrival announced as the Lord of the Manor. He then reaches out to Evie and grabs her for the night's first dance, and after a stunning dance, they leave the stage and go inside a room, possibly to continue their conversation without any disturbance. The two then talk about their lives and even embrace each other in a kiss. Next, we see Evie sleeping peacefully in her bed while the whispers of her voice echo across the room. Once again, she wakes up panicking, and upon looking around, she notices a hand sticking up the window glass. Evie loses her mind at this sight and hides under a bed, bursting into tears. Suddenly, Walter appears at the scene and calms her down with his soothing words. He even stays with Evie for the night to ease her anxiety and make her feel safe. They share the bed for the first time that night and talk about their life. The next morning, Victoria and Lucy burst into Evie's room, each holding a robe in their hand. Lucy informs her that it's spa day and invites Evie to join them. And once they reach the spa room, Lucy and Evie enjoy their manicures, while Victoria begins swimming. But moments later, Victoria starts asking strange questions to Evie, which clearly makes her uncomfortable. Just then, Evie accidentally cuts her finger while moving her hand, resulting in an injury. And when Victoria spots the blood, she promptly approaches Evie and starts sucking her finger. Disgusted by this, Evie swiftly leaves the spa room in disbelief. At this point, Evie starts to feel something fishy is going on in the mansion and starts looking for clues. She then ventures into the hallway and retrieves the key to the library from a drawer, fully aware of the prohibition against its use. And while inspecting the room, Evie accidentally drops a file, revealing documents containing her complete profile. Shocked by this discovery, she swiftly returns to her room and starts packing her belongings, intending to leave, but Walter becomes aware of her actions and enters her room, inquiring about her intentions. Now, Evie confronts Walter with the documents of her profile and accuses him of stalking. However, Walter remains composed and calmly explains that he maintains records of individuals before allowing them to reside in his mansion. Then he apologizes to Evie and assures her that there is nothing to worry about. And once again, the two start making out and share a steamy time together. The next morning, while laying in the same bed, Walter tells her about a family dinner she has to attend that night and presents her with a pre-selected dress for the occasion. Later that evening, Evie dresses up and heads into the dining hall, finding everyone already seated at the table. Upon her arrival, Walter acknowledges the other families present and gallantly kisses Evie's hand, causing her cheeks to blush. She playfully asks Walter about the bride and groom, but instead he surprises her by announcing their own marriage. Shocked, Evie's world turns upside down when Walter starts discussing joining the lost families. Suddenly, the butler enters the dining room with a maid gruesomely running through her throat and collecting her blood in a bowl. The horrifying truth is revealed. Walter, Victoria, and Lucy are vampires, revealing their insatiable hunger for human blood. It becomes apparent that Walter has made a pact with Evie's ancestors, exchanging their women for peace. After the revelation, Evie realizes that the former lady of the mansion is none other than her great-grandmother, Emmeline. Everything becomes clear as day to Evie, understanding that the nightmares were Emmeline's way of signaling her to escape the mansion without delay. Determined to leave, Evie rises the attempt to flee, but the butler prevents her from doing so. Despite her desperate cries for help, Walter captures Evie and orders Lucy and Victoria to handle her for the night. They escort Evie to a basement room where they unveil their sinister plan. Tempting her with promises of power and fulfillment, they try to convince Evie to join their ranks as a vampire. Eventually, Victoria seals Evie inside an ancient coffin, but the next day her maid, Mrs. Swift, comes to her rescue and releases Evie from the coffin. She then reveals a secret escape route to make sure Evie can leave the mansion unnoticed, driven by her friendship with Emmeline. Mrs. Swift refuses to let Evie suffer the same fate within those walls. Now, Evie runs through the forest, refraining from looking back for a while. Fortunately, she stumbles upon a nearby town and seeks help from the residents. Soon, an elderly woman kindly invites Evie into her home, offering her tea, while her husband makes a phone call. However, Evie becomes suspicious of their behavior, and upon investigating further, Evie discovers that both individuals are actually working for Walter. Once again, Evie tries to flee from the house, but the elderly woman unexpectedly strikes her from behind, rendering her unconscious. In the next scene, Evie walks down the aisle in a trance, prepared to marry Walter after the wedding formalities. Walter asks her to drink his blood, offering her eternal life. Reacting instinctively, Evie bites into Walter's arm, transforming into a powerful vampire, and as the ceremony attendees applaud, Evie unleashes her newfound power, setting the church ablaze, and swiftly impaling Walter in the heart. Overpowered and unable to stop her, Walter succumbs to Evie's wrath. Now, Evie seizes the moment and rescues one of the maids and attempts to flee from the mansion. Seeing this, Victoria becomes furious and chases after her through the hallway. Despite her significant age of 500 years, she strikes Evie's chest with her claws, nearly delivering a fatal blow. However, a lifeline appears as Lucy intervenes, begging Victoria to cease the violence. Ignoring Lucy's plea, Victoria persists in her attack, leading to a fierce confrontation. And tragically, their clash ends with both Lucy and Victoria meeting their demise, impaled by a spear. To make matters worse, the butler suddenly enters the hallway brandishing a spear, cursing Evie's entire lineage and launching an attack. However, being a vampire, Evie easily shatters the spear, piercing it through the butler's throat and killing him instantly. And before leaving the hall, she grabs a string as a makeshift weapon, aware that Walter is still alive. As expected, Walter confronts her and effortlessly overpowers her. Eventually, he offers Evie the chance to join him and gain everlasting strength. But she resolutely refuses, preferring death over him. Now, with the help of a wire, Evie swiftly severs his hand and kicks him into the fire, finally ending his life. And with Walter's demise, Evie immediately reverts to her human form and escapes from the mansion. Finally, we see Evie getting back to New York, and with the help of her friend Grace, the duo decides to track down Oliver to exact revenge on him. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching.